Kate Falcha, welcome to Irish Granny Helen. And today I actually had something else planned for today. And the best laid plans, we had to reschedule. So fortunately, I have this up my sleeve. And I know people enjoyed the first two videos we did on Carl Jung. We talked about his background, his biography, his life. And then last time, video number 2 on Carl Jung, we began to speak about his major concepts. We talked a tiny bit about the idea that he had archetypes, what he meant by complex, what he meant by extroversion and introversion. We talked a bit about the collective unconscious. And at that point, we dove just a little bit deeper into the idea of introvert and extrovert as compared to sort of the layperson's use of the terms. And that's where we ended last time. So now we're going to continue with his concepts, and specifically the idea of persona. And it just never ceases to amaze me how many of these words have just become a part of our everyday conversation. And I'm not sure, let me be fair, I didn't really comprehend where they originated. So he created these terms, or if he borrowed them from the ancients, he kind of modernized them and absorbed them into his system, his theories. So the persona talks about your personality and your masks. Some of this is going to feel very familiar. I think we have just absorbed it into the zeitgeist in large part. So your personality, he said, is a kind of a pretend individuality. It's the role that we play of me. This is who I am that I'm presenting to the world. And it's our mediation between the individual and society. It's what you think you should appear to be. So it's a character mask, basically. And it's meant to make an impression on other people while hiding the true nature of the individual. And do we even know what that is for ourselves? That would be one of the big questions. That's probably why you got the big bucks to do therapy. Okay. Jung said, the very next sentence, Jung says, the therapist will try to help you with individuation. That's regaining your own self, finding out who you really are, as opposed to the persona that you display to the world. So this has evolved to affect management theory. I always feel uncomfortable. I know nobody cares about this, but I always feel very uncomfortable when I start to hear about employers who use these theories, who use personality tests and such to understand their employees. I feel it's sort of cynical. It's very cynical, and it's meant to give an advantage to the business. It's not about the employee. There's something about it that doesn't sit well with me. I don't think I've given it enough thought to express it in any articulate, cogent way, but just to say that it makes me feel icky, uncomfortable. So management theory has adopted some of Jung's ideas because they want to figure out what sort of person you are and should you be working with them or not. And I understand that. I understand if you're going to be hiring somebody, it's important that you gather together employees that you can be the most successful with. But there's a line into manipulation that I find very uncomfortable. Jung believed that the psyche consisted of different evolutionary layers. And this is where he keeps dipping his toe in metaphysics, I think. The more archaic parts of the brain were all aspects of the collective unconscious. So when you get into the older more kind of existential parts of the brain that just keep the engine running, that guide our basic instincts and our functions necessary to stay alive. He said those parts of the brain, we kind of all share a collective unconscious. We all share something maybe difficult to describe that joins us all together. It's the part of human psychology shared by all human beings. He says, look, we're primates, and our psychology is made up of lower stories, like floors, in which the specters of our past epochs dwell, our animal soul, so to speak. And it's related to the archaeology of the mind. I love that term, the archaeology of the mind. Today, people might be more inclined to speak in terms of epigenetics, and other people might be tempted to talk about karma, astrological nodes. It's the only thing I know about astrology. Anyway, spirituality, there's a term that Jung liked to throw around. He believed that life has a spiritual purpose beyond material goals, which is a really interesting point of view, I think, for a psychoanalyst to have in that time period. Maybe I'm wrong, but I always have the impression they're a little bit hard-boiled, you know. This is getting kind of soft and woo-woo for a true psychoanalyst. So our main task, Jung believed, was to discover and fulfill our innate potential. I think what he's talking about here is to look within and find your purpose and apply it to the people around you. Does sound like spirituality. So the term individuation is the journey of transformation that he's talking about. And he based this on many different religious traditions, kind of collated them, and into what he called the mystical heart of religion. That's that center of the Venn diagram. When you put them all together and you get an overlap, and there's this little teeny tiny kernel that they share. That's his idea of the mystical heart of religion. And this individuation is the journey to meet the self and the divine. He was a pantheist, which is interesting. He believed that the universe was God, and that God is not and never has been corporeal, and is everywhere in everything. And it's so interesting because, you know, Christianity talks about God is Jesus was God. You know, that's the whole thing. And not all branches, just some. And other belief systems talk about the gods coming down to earth and presenting themselves as people and interacting with humanity. And he didn't go for that. He thought that just look around you, and there is God in each and every person and nature and animal. He believed that having a spiritual experience was essential to well-being. His argument would have been that going through life with blinders on and just worrying about your material existence is an unfulfilled life. It's a lack of individuation. He identified human life with the universe as a whole. I think this is, I think kind of a unique attitude for a psychotherapist. It's very Platonic. It is very spiritual. He was asked, do you believe in God? And he said, I don't need to believe. I know. He recommended spirituality for the treatment of alcoholism. You know, this was an enlightened attitude, and the ideas that he put forward specifically about this were adopted by the people who started AA. This is what Jungian theory is, what started AA. In the paranormal, he had a lot of interest, which is also really interesting. He attended seances. He claimed that he saw parapsychic phenomena. And at first he said, oh, this, people are reporting this stuff. It's psychological. This is a them problem. This is not something that's truly happening. But he was open-minded enough, and he attended seances, and he talked to psychics, and he dealt with mediums and with people involved in the world of spirituality, and his attitude changed. He began to doubt that it was just psychological. He said that doesn't do justice to the phenomenon. That's too easy to write it off. The spirit hypothesis yields better results. So he looked at it from, a scientific point of view. But he was never able to find material evidence, and that seems to be always the problem. So he talked about synchronicity. That's another word that he kind of brought to popular use. And synchronicity is when, I guess the best alternative, a synonym for it would be coincidence. When things happen and you go, oh, are they connected? I'm of a mind that a lot of things are connected in an odd way. Synchronicity is the manifestation of coincidences that can be meaningful. So he doesn't dismiss the term coincidence. He just says in synchronicity, that coincidence has more meaning than just accident. He talked about quantum mechanics, physics. And he explored the idea of non-locality with the idea of the unus mundi, which in Latin means one world. It's primordial unified reality. And this was explored by Plato. So everything old is everything new. Everything old is new again. Everything old is old again. Alchemy, he said, had psychological significance, and he associated psychoanalytic processes with alchemical symbols. This gets very interesting. Alchemy is where you take, in his frame of reference, you take an impure soul, lead, and turn it into a pure soul, gold. And he says, he's speaking in metaphors here. He says, individuation is personal growth. You take an undeveloped person and you help them to find themselves and develop themselves to a state of a higher evolution and personal growth. And that's the gold. He wrote Mysterium Conjunctionis. Mysterium Conjunctionis. Yeah, that's how it is. Mysterium Conjunctionis. I can't read my handwriting, which doesn't help when you're trying to read a very long Latin word. Conjunctionis, which means the sacred marriage, and it's the relationship between, it referred originally to the relationship between the sun and the moon. But he talked in these metaphorical terms. So he's talking about dance and movement and the soul and the body, God and the person, just everything, all these dichotomies, I guess, as a dance, a relationship. And he carried that forward into treating his patients. For example, he liked to use art therapy and dance therapy and movement to help people with trauma and who were in emotional distress. He believed that having an active imagination was a healing thing. This is very, very modern way of looking at things. So then I have a little bit here about him and politics, because there were a few things about him that when I first read them, I thought, oh, this is, not great. But then I pursued it into further depth, and it did clear up. So he was a big believer in individual rights, in free will. He believed, and this period of time where he was talking about this, there was a lot of conflict and struggle over authoritarianism. And so it was pertinent to his time. And he said that he believed the state was a form of slavery, because the government, the state, tries to take the place of God. Now, for the sake of YouTube, I'm just conveying Carl Jung's beliefs. He believed that in religion, can use the state in this. Religion uses worship in the same way that the state controls people, that these things are expecting people to be beholden to them as institutions, and people become worshipers of the state in the same way that they're worshipers in religion, and they put themselves in a position to be controlled. And that's what he means by slavery. Acts of the state are comparable to religious displays. So what he meant by that, you see a lot of pomp and circumstance associated with government, formal, even if they're not marching around, even if they're just in a business suit, there's a lot of dignitas and marching around and flag waving and protocol and how you're supposed to act or not act. And he equated that to religious ceremony, that all this ceremonial stuff, they're displays for the sake of controlling people. So this is a quote from Carl Jung. Brass bands, flags, banners, parades, and demonstrations are not different in principle from ecclesiastical processions, cannonades, and fire to scare off demons. So he said that a lot of this he would equate with fanaticism, as in the Dark Ages. It's a primitive thing. What they're doing, he claimed, when they go through these ceremonial behaviors, these formal displays, are manipulating people's fears. And he equates it to, chasing demons in the Middle Ages. The more the state is worshipped, the more freedom and morality are suppressed. Boy, is that timely. Because they leave the individual psychically undeveloped with extreme feelings of marginalization. But here's what can be problematic. They called him anti-Semitic, but his work was really complicated, and the part that they called anti-Semitic was, I think, taken out of context. He was talking about ancient pagan myths and the mythology of tribes, and he included Jewish belief systems from the past there. And people thought he was, speaking ill. And he really wasn't when you read the whole full context. And he was, he was very close to people who were Jewish. He worked with them in his professional and personal life, and always spoke highly of Jewish contributions to psychotherapy because they play a significant role. And when the Nazis tried to take over the international psychological group, he immediately resigned. So his actions are easier to read than perhaps his words were to understand. And I had to read what he was talking about a couple of times. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder, people misunderstood this. This is complicated. And it's easy given our state of alert and justifiably about these topics. That would jump out at us in the wrong way. But if you look at the whole of his work and all of his actions, you realize, no, that's a misunderstanding. He wrote that he was surprised and disappointed to be associated with pro-Nazi sympathies. He responded right away and said, no, you're getting what I'm saying wrong entirely. The rumor of his early anti-Semitic theories are what actually caused him to split from Freud. I think Freud took offense, and you would think that he would understand, but he jumped to conclusions. He did share an early interest in European myth and early folk psychology, but he dissociated himself from all of it when it started to go the wrong way. So that's part of the problem. Is he explored some of the same ideas and then immediately rejected the direction that they took. About the year 1936, he realized, well, wait a minute, they're weaponizing these old belief systems, and this is not okay. So he did write very negatively about Hitler. He said he's not a man. There's nobody there. And he's not an individual. He's I can't read my handwriting. An entertainment? No. Oh, he's not an individual. He's an entire nation. So he vehemently denied any anti-Semitism, and he claimed that he was misrepresented and mistranslated and taken out of context. And he actually was a student of the Kabbalah. So I don't know. He didn't think that homosexuality should be the concern of the authorities. He said this is not a crime and you need to mind your own beeswax, basically. Today, his work on archetypes is being re-examined through the use of psychedelics, because he was into that too. He's considered a pioneer in unexplored cognitive domains that are alien to Western thought, but are part of indigenous cultures. He was very open to that. He was well versed in, for example, Indian scriptural works. And the comment here on what I read here was that science is actually starting to catch up to Jung. Now, I think I'm going to stop here because I do not want to interrupt partway through this next part. Yeah, I have one more video here on Jung that we'll get to in the next week or so. So thank you for watching, and I hope people are not disappointed. I had promised a conversation with Sarah Jordan Heinz, and she had not an emergency, but she had a demanding thing for work intrude on her at the very last minute. And I also had a conversation planned with Denise, and Denise got sick. So today's been one of those days, but everything is rescheduled and we'll move forward, and good lesson in flexibility. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I'd like to say welcome to all my new subscribers, and my gratitude to my old faithfuls. All the people that have been with me for a long time. I really, really appreciate it, especially in light of contentious times. I'll just put it that way. So thank you, and Slán go fóill. Slán.